Steven.
I'm Dani from Nora Knives. This is definitely Steve's domain. I'm gonna get back to work. One of us has gotta work around here.
Every once in a while. We'll kind of start this off and I'll show you kind of our metal working area. Once we kind of have a overall idea of what we're gonna do, we normally start with sheets of steel. We have all types, anything and everything. Basically, it comes in flat bar format. We draw up what we want to make. Some of the stuff will actually have water jetted if it's a common profile, something that we want to do a lot of. We have an idea for, we'll draw it straight on the steel and we'll cut it on the bandsaw, where we keep all of our random cuts of unheat treated steel. We do a lot of our metal working in this area. So our tools, we need caps and dies, all different types of drills, CNC machine, which is home built type machine. Our mills, any type of handle work or the metal work that need milling, kind of our crazy custom one-off stuff. We have our ovens to heat treat the blades. A lot of our blades will send out for heat treat, large quantities. We have multiple methods. I can control temperature with, and then depending on what the steel is, some of it will be done on aluminum plates to quench, oil, and a salt brine, which is just water and salt. Every steel's a little different. Some need higher temperatures and they can't go straight into a water brine or an oil, and they have to cool at a certain rate, wrap in stainless steel foil, keep oxygen out. Some steels we don't. It just kind of depends on the temperature, if we're gonna get decarb or not. All the heat treat is done here, and we actually temper either in our little easy bake, the kiln itself, check our hardness with the hardness tester, do our straightening. So we got plates to temper them in, little handmade guides that I've made that I'll put in the ice and I'll clamp and I'll bend, and little pins to take warps out. Heat treating is kind of its own little beast. You have to know the steels, you have to know what's gonna do, and you really have to be kind of careful and think about what you're doing to make sure that the blade's gonna come out functional blade. If we don't get the heat treat right, there's no point in us making a knife out of it. As you can see, a lot of this area is still dirty and it will be fixed slowly. It's driving me crazy. That's my 1 hour a day of cleaning. Next area is in the grind room. I would say the majority of the work that makes a knife look like a knife and work like a knife is done in this room. Handle work in here, all the beveling, actual blades. We have lots of different tools, small wheels, bigger wheels, flat platens for a lot of the grinding of the blades, the platens that give for the shaping of the handles to allow for very soft contours and shapes on the handle so it feels good in hand to use. This room used to get a lot dirtier. We actually built a little box just for using on the disc sander so I don't have dust going everywhere, called a vortex type system for the actual grinder. One of the biggest dangers in grinding knives, you're throwing sparks. We grind knives, metal, and wood with the same machine, so you have a large chance of catching something on fire. I used to light things on fire all the time in here. Since I've done this, I've produced almost 0 fires. Caught the bucket inside the bucket on fire once, and then it's just pulling a vacuum. The stuff that's actually going to the dust collector as minimal as possible. This has been life-changing. Anytime we're working on the grinder, we're wearing masks to prevent ourselves from breathing in all the crap that you don't want to die from. We buy a lot of belts, a lot of abrasives. I mean, most of everything we do requires abrasives, probably the biggest expense in knife making. We go all different types of grits, up to 1200 all the way down to 50 and some 36. Junk belts, that is just from the last 2 weeks. We try to do everything so it's all on speed control. The biggest thing with working with stuff is being able to slow it down or speed it up. These belts will have a slight bump in them, and when I'm getting to higher grits, it causes little dips on the blades or on the handle area. So I actually wrapped a small wheel in some tape, and that just dampens it enough to actually allow it to get a smooth contour. This is where I spend a lot of my time doing the work that actually makes knives. And then my dust blower. I blow out the shop at least once a day when I'm in here working. Bandsaw, which is probably the fundamental, I think the most used tool besides the grinder in the shop. Steel with this, we'll cut G10, we'll cut wood, we'll shape the handles initially to make sure everything's reduced down as much as possible. Most of our design work is done over here. This is where Dani does her part of it. We're constantly buying material. We have stuff from other makers that we'll use. Adam Workerman on Instagram, Tom over at Beyond Wood Products. If we find something that's interesting, Dani normally brings it in. I do most of my designs on the computer. It's easier just to cut it out of plywood. Small, big knives, hunters to machetes. Did you hear that? Those dogs are awesome. They
French bulldogs.
Fight all the time. I want to record it and actually...
They raise French bulldogs over there and they fight like hell. Those things are mean.
We can't sand our blades right here. Your simple, standard piece of leather on some wood. I to actually clamp down a blade, and then we have different tools for actually sanding the metal itself. We don't go crazy high finish on our blade. We do a real rough 220. That's really because we want our knives to be used, and I don't want to put a finish on there that's just gonna look junk within a week of use. Most of our knives are used in professional kitchens or in a home kitchen. It's a knife. You're gonna cut stuff with it. You're gonna scratch it. You're gonna hone it. You know, all these different things are gonna happen, and that knife is gonna get its own character. So I feel that we need to produce a finish on the blade that looks good, functions, but it doesn't need to be a crazy finish that you're afraid to scratch. Drill press. I used to have 4, 5 drill presses in here, all set up to do different things, and I realized that I really only drill one hole on 90% of our knives. Anything I need to do is involve drilling. It's almost all here. This area is our cleaning / clean work areas. I can't emphasize how important that was, to where I have my X-Acto knife to clean. I have all the different chemicals I can do, owls, some eyes, a good light. You can see in this front area, this is actually where we do our casting. We cast our handles, we stabilize, and we have lots of different colors and materials that we use in that sense. Sharpen. I guess I should show you sharpening. All of our sharpening is done here. I spent a bunch of money on the Tormach system, and I really like it. I think it works great. The way I like our blades to feel and the finished product, I just use that to basically start a burr. And then from there, I go to stones. I use diamond stone. My initial setup is actually, depending on the steel, but most of the time it goes from the wheel to 1,000 grit Sharpton stone to 8,000 grit Japanese water stone, then to strop. And I just strop by hand. I have 2 different leathers, one with compound on it. We'll use diamond stones, natural stone, kind of the last part of the whole process. You know, once it's sharpened, it's going in a box and going to somebody to actually hopefully make them happy. Really lucky in the sense that we have a lot of space. We started in a 19-foot by 19-foot 2-car garage from 1952. I enjoy having the space. It's a lot cleaner. Having more air around you, I feel healthier. This is where we work. So that's shop tour. It's where we make our knives and kind of my little dream place. It's a work in kind of my dream shop every day. So I can't complain. I'm always happy. I think that's it.